Hello, my name is Gabe Guillen, and I'm a technical marketing engineer at Nozomi Networks. Today, we are going to be discussing threat detection and threat intelligence by the hand of Vantage, our cloud solution for OT and IoT cybersecurity environments. Before diving into the demo, there are several pillars that I usually like to discuss so people that is having a look at the solution will understand what did we have top of mind when creating this solution in particular. So I'm talking about visibility, compliance, efficiency, and rapid response. The last one, rapid response, is tightly associated with threat detection. And of course, is tightly associated with threat intelligence, both items that we are going to be discussing in today's session. Now, with that being said, I will be sharing my screen, so you will be able to have a look at what Vantage does for you. So this screen is the very first element, the very first screen that you will see once you log in into Vantage. There are different areas here. You can see, for example, a map. You can see Vantage IQ, which we are going to be discussing as well, and different tabs that you have on top. Today, we are going to be going into the Alerts tab. We are going to be covering the IQ tab, and then, of course, these default dashboard that we have, which, by the way, you can modify. Not the default one, but you can create customizable dashboards to show information that it's relevant for you or anybody from your team. So instead of you having to gather all this information by building customized queries, et cetera, you can have that built already, and then you can consult or you can visit that dashboard anytime you want and present that information to your teammates or to your entire team to show them, what's going on in the environment or just to justify certain investments. So with that, let's go ahead and click here on the alerts, because we are talking about assets and we are talking about threat detection. And I'd like to see raw, what do we have in our environment? So this is what we have, and this is real time. This is our lab. Essentially, you have lots of information, tons of information. So I can click on any of them. My gut can tell me, hey, the red ones are the ones that you want to click on and have a look at them, because the risk, and now we are talking about risk management here, the risk is higher on certain alerts that are being shown, but it doesn't mean that all of them are actually relevant. Now, let's go ahead and click on one of them. So this one, it says new node. It talks about what happened. It tells me the IP address, the possible cause, but it's rather generic. So we can go down and try to understand what's going on here. And you can see, for example, clear text passwords. So you have an asset, or you have a node in this case, that is requesting clear text passwords. That is obviously not a good practice. It might sound naive. It might sound like something innocent. Maybe in the past, a rather old piece of equipment might be asking for these type of passwords. But the point is, it is definitely not a good practice to have clear text passwords being transmitted over the network. We can detect those things. And that takes me to something that is very, very interesting. Threats can be represented in the form of different things, right? It doesn't have to be malicious software only. It doesn't have to be somebody trying to exfiltrate data from your environment. It could be these. It could be bad practices. It could be somebody trying to do something, trying to accomplish some objective. Maybe he believes or she believes that by doing this is going to be faster. And I'm not talking about clear text password. I'm talking in general. So by jumping certain security postures or certain security practices, we might be able to reach the goal faster, but it's going to be risky. And this is just an example of something that can render your environment useless. If somebody gets to read those passwords and then log in and try to do unauthorized actions inside of your environment, of course, something bad is going to happen. So this is just one of the things. So clear text passwords. Okay. So who does that at the end, right? So let's go back to the alerts and then have a look at other things. And I'm going to be randomly clicking on things. And discussing briefly about it. So Goose, for example, I just saw this one and I can click on it. We have some elements in our lab. Some of them are related to, for example, power generation and power distribution. Goose is a particular protocol that is associated to these environments. And Goose is something that sends packets unencrypted over the network because it requires very high speed. It can't be encrypted. It requires very high speed because it is all related to lightning strikes in the power grid. So you need to be lightning fast in order for this to work. So essentially, you have a Goose problem here. So when Goose works, it's essentially sending packets with a sequence number or SDNOM. So you can try to insert yourself inside of that flow of packets, and then by these emulating a false positive or emulating something that is not actually happening, like an overvoltage, for example. So if you accomplish that, if you do that, you can render entire blocks of a city or entire facilities without power. So this is what we have detected over here. So, and this is what is being talking. So you can see, for example, it says once again what happened, the possible cause, and the suggested solution. And in the map, where is it located? Sometimes it's localized, sometimes it's a communication happening between two different parts geographically. So it can be two different countries. Maybe we are trying to exfiltrate data to the outside world. But in this case, it's just a little dot, just a little point. And we have a lot of information here that we can analyze. Now, let's go back to the alerts once again. And every time I click on the alerts, you will see that this is going to change because this is a live environment and this is changing. So we have even in the destination, different flags of countries where we are actually trying to communicate with, et cetera, et cetera. And provided that this is a lab with equipment from all different natures, you can find whatever, right? So how can I put all this information together? How can I put all this information together and understand what's going on in my environment? How can I do this? So going back into my default dashboard, if you remember, I mentioned earlier in this video that we were going to talk about Vantage IQ. So we have Vantage IQ here. This is these 4 elements that you see here. These are events. And Vantage IQ, it's a solution that is powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning. And it comes with Vantage at an additional cost. And of course, it helps you understand those thousands of alerts that you might have in your environment, make sense out of them, and understand if you are being victim of some sort of orchestrated attack or complex attack. If I go here, you can see here, for example, that we have 9 alerts requiring action in the last 24 hours. So this is something that is short term. So it's related to the latest things that has happened in my environment. So it is not about everything that ever happened. No, it's just about a few things. So we go here into show more. And after we wait a little bit, you can see in order of criticality, the different elements that we should be taking care of. So we have a security threat, we have information breach, and then we have vulnerable assets and high risk alerts and so on and so forth. So if we click on one of them, let's go ahead and do have a look at the security threat. So apparently we are facing here some security threats. And if we go to the results, we can see all the alerts that are associated to this particular event. So instead of seeing everything as we saw in the very beginning when we went into the alerts, now we have the possibility of grouping the different elements that are associated to an attack. So this is a malware that is live in my environment and it's doing certain things. So the malware itself is acting and the different actions will create different alerts. So for me to understand, for me to have a clear understanding on what's going on, grouping these actions is key. And Vantage IQ helps me do that, helps me accomplish that because it's continuously monitoring the environment 24/7 all the time. And even when I'm sleeping, this thing is operating, is working. and it's gathering information for me. And whenever I sit down on my desktop and open up Vantage, I will be able to see these insights, intelligent insights, tailor-made for me, and giving me information like this one, for example. So I just have to click on one of them to understand which type of malware was detected. It was detected through a JARA rule. You can see the name of the malware over here and a lot of information about it that will allow me to actually go ahead and solve the problem. And in this case, you can see that it is no single dot. It goes from one place to the other, and from Europe to the United States. And of course, this is something that it's undesirable. So that was Vantage IQ. That's the power of Vantage IQ. And before ending this, because I want this to be as short as possible, there is something very interesting that we just launched. And talking about threat detection, it's threat intelligence. So we go here in threat intelligence, and we can see that powered by our partner Mandiant, we are now capable of giving you information about the latest threats, not just in terms of like globally, like everything that we have seen. No, this is about the industries. This is about the countries. This is about all the malware types. And then you can filter, you can not just go ahead and try to understand the nature of each one of the attacks that has been detected are the most common ones, but also on a per industry basis. So let's say you are interested in manufacturing. You can go ahead and dive into the manufacturing area and understand what are the latest and greatest or most impactful attacks that are here in manufacturing. And you can see, for example, that the percentage is the 14% just in manufacturing. If you click on here, you will be able to see just for manufacturing the latest attacks. And then, of course, try to detect if you have any type of issues that will open the window for any of these threats to go into your environment. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you shared these videos with your peers in the industry and internally, and you can get back to us.